Saga and welcome back to my channel. So before I get into the content of this video, there is something that I wanted to talk about that many of you have been asking me about on YouTube, and I thought I'll just clear that out before I go into the content of this video. So many of you have been asking me about where I got the Kaplan videos from when I was preparing for the USMLE steps. Now, unfortunately, I do not know how you can get these videos because I myself had gotten these videos from a friend of mine in medical school, and for that reason I never had the need to have to look for them or buy them. So I had borrowed them from my friend who was also in medical school, in my medical school. And for that reason, I'm so sorry that I'm not able to give you a proper source by which you can get these videos. But do try to check out the Kaplan website. Maybe you'll find some kind of information there. However, recently I came across a very interesting and a very useful resource that I definitely didn't know about when I was preparing for the USMLE steps, and I really wish I knew about this resource when I was studying for the steps, because I think it would have been so useful for me. And this is the online lectures from Lecturio. I first heard about Lecturio from a medical student who is currently doing medicine in my medical school that I graduated from. And when she told me about that, I got curious, obviously, and I subscribed to this website or this online course, and you have access to a lot of videos regarding different topics and different subjects that is basically preparing you for the USMLEs. And I recently took a 1-month subscription for Lecturio just to check it out, and because I was just curious about it when I heard about it from my junior in medical school. And I was so excited about that because right now, even though I started off checking the website out for my curiosity, I now find myself going over and over to this website to learn about different topics that I feel I don't really understand from books, or when I feel like I don't have a solid foundation in that topic or that disease, for example. I find myself going back over and over again to this website to check out their videos. I feel the professors there really break it down for you and really explain the topic in a very detailed way. And I think sometimes that's what we need when we don't understand a topic. We just need someone like a professor or someone else to just break it down for you in a very simple way so that you understand it even better. So I find myself, for example, like the triangles of the neck in anatomy, sometimes that can be very confusing to know the borders of the triangles and the contents of each triangle, and I got such an amazing understanding of it and a more detailed understanding of this of the triangles of the neck by the videos on Lecturio. And for that reason, I just thought I should share that with you guys. So for those of you who are interested to get another resource to just help you get a more solid foundation for your USMLEs, I think you can check this website out. I think for a 1-month subscription, I paid, I think, $24. But I think the longer subscription you take, the cheaper it gets. So that's pretty interesting. So if you go for a longer subscription, you just get a cheaper price. So maybe you can even go for a longer subscription and pay a lower amount. But if you guys are interested, do check the link in the description box below. I'll leave a link to the website so you guys can check it out. And if you find it interesting or you feel like you need another resource to study from, you can just subscribe to this website and try to watch the videos there and give you a better understanding of the subject that you are having trouble with. Therefore, you can use this as a parallel study tool. So this is just a suggestion of mine, and let me know what you guys think in the comments bar below. So coming back to the topic of this video, so many of you have been asking me constantly on YouTube about what are the components on your CV that make your CV strong when you're applying to a US residency. And I think this is a very, very important topic, and I do think this is a very important question, and that's why I'm very happy that I'm able to make this video for you guys. Now, just a little disclaimer, in no way am I saying that this is the only rule and this is basically the order of importance that is listed on some website. I'm not saying that. This is my opinion based on the experience that I have had personally, and also what I've heard from doctors practicing in the US, other residents, and other people, and websites that I have gone to when I was doing my own research about this. And this is just my outlook and my opinion about what is the most important components of your CV that strengthens your application for a US residency. So I'll be talking about the major components of your CV that are very important during application. But obviously there are so many components that can strengthen or weaken your CV, and obviously I won't be going through each and every one of them because that's not within the scope of one video. So I'll be talking about the major ones. So the very first and the most important components of your CV, and the reason I say components is that I think there are two components of your CV. In my opinion, I feel these are the most important aspects of your CV when you're applying. The first one is your USMLE score and US clinical experience. Now, when I talk about USMLE scores, many of you have asked me whether it is possible to apply to a US residency even with average USMLE scores. Now, this depends on a few things. It firstly depends on how low is your score, and secondly, it depends on what specialty you're applying to. If you want to apply to a very competitive specialty in the US, like let's say radiology or dermatology or surgical-based specialty, then having an average USMLE or having average USMLE scores might definitely hurt you because the cutoffs that they set for their applicants is very high. So I would say definitely that would be a struggle for you. However, if you have average USMLE scores, but you want to apply to specialties like primary care, the primary care specialties like internal medicine, pediatrics, or family medicine, then it definitely is possible. And if you have a much lower score even, I think it is still possible for you to have a chance to get accepted into US residency, provided that you compensate the other components on your CV, like the ones I will be talking about now. So it's basically trying to make a balance of these components on your CV. So if you lack in one aspect or one component on your CV, try to compensate in another area so that it sort of overshadows or kind of compensates for that deficiency that you have on your CV. Now, this other important component, which I think is also one of the two most important components of your CV, is US clinical experience. Now, it is so important to get US clinical experience because most, if not all, programs require or have in their primary requirements that you need to have some sort of US clinical experience. And when I say US clinical experience, I mean proper hands-on experience and not observerships. If you haven't watched my video on US clinical experience yet, I will put a link in the description box below, so definitely check that out to know exactly what I'm talking about. But you need to have at least some US clinical experience to put on your CV, and that will definitely help you towards getting accepted or getting more interviews for US residency. And again, by checking the video that I'm linking down below, you will come to know about ways to get US clinical experience. Now, if you only have the option of doing an observership in the US and you have no other option, then obviously go for that because something is better than nothing. But if you do have the option of an observership versus hands-on experience, definitely go for the hands-on experience, even though it's a little more expensive for graduates, foreign graduates, but still I think it's so worth it if you're really serious about pursuing a US residency. And this brings me to my next component of your CV, which is very important, which is your LORs, or your letters of recommendation. So when you get US clinical experience, that is the time when you usually make your contacts with the attendings in your hospital or your department, and you will most likely have a supervisor or preceptor who basically observes you and evaluates you throughout your rotation there. And in this way, you will be able to get at least a few letters of recommendation from the doctors there. And that is very, very important for your application to a US residency. When you're applying, you will need at least 3 to 4 letters of recommendation. So it is great if you can get as many letters of recommendation as possible. And also look at what specialty you're planning to apply to. If you're planning to apply to 2 specialties, then it's good to get not just a specialty specific letter of recommendation, but also get a general letter of recommendation so that that applies to all specialties and not just a single specialty. There's also something known as a waived letter of recommendation and an unwaived letter of recommendation. And this basically means when you're applying at the time of application, if you ask your US physician to directly upload their letter of recommendation to your profile on your My-ERAS profile, and you waive your rights to see it, that has a lot more weightage than you directly uploading a letter of recommendation that you have read by yourself, because that just means that you have the confidence that the letter of recommendation is a good one and that you don't find the need, or you don't see the need to read the letter of recommendation before you apply, and that just gives you extra points when the program directors are reviewing your application. The next point is research. Now, many of you have asked me if research is so important that if you don't have research that it's not possible to apply or that you shouldn't apply. Now, the answer to this question is very varied. It depends on what specialty you're applying to. So if you're applying to, let's say, a specialty like plastic surgery, now this is a specialty which really focuses a lot on your research experience. So the more research you do, the better. But if you are applying to some specialty, maybe the primary care specialties or something else that does not require that much research experience, that is fine. But obviously, it is always good to have some sort of research experience under your belt, and it may be an article that you publish or proper research that you have been involved in. It's always good to have some sort of research, even if it's just one. That's great to have on your CV. But the fact that you don't have any research experience is definitely not a reason why you shouldn't apply. Because if you compensate by having these other components that I have mentioned before this, that definitely will help you and will compensate for the fact that you don't have any research. But obviously, research always helps. And if you are applying to one of those specialties like plastic surgery that really focuses on research experience, definitely build up on your research experience on your CV. The next thing I'd like to talk about is your medical school performance. Now, many of you wonder whether medical school performance is an important component or not, and it definitely is. Having good performance in your medical school is a great way to show program directors that you have always been a high achiever and that you've always been a hard worker and that you are a high achiever throughout your medical education or medical career. And that is always a great thing. And that's the reason I even mentioned in my previous videos that if you're planning to take your USMLE steps during medical school, make sure that you do not jeopardize your scores in medical school in the name of the USMLEs. If you feel like you are jeopardizing your medical school performance, then you should rather wait until you graduate before you take the USMLE steps. And make sure that you do well in both medical school and your STEP. So it's always good to have strong transcripts and be able to show the program directors that you are definitely a front runner. The second thing is gaps on your CV. Now, if you're a foreign medical graduate and it's been a few years probably since you have graduated from medical school, it's very important to fill the gaps. Now, don't make sure that there is not a huge gap since you graduated of you not doing anything. So try to always do some sort of clinical rotations or some kind of internship or anything in a hospital or a clinical setting, or even volunteer work. Make sure that you're always doing something, and hopefully something related to the medical field that shows the program directors that you have always been busy. Because at the end of the day, if they see that you, let's say, had a 1-year gap since you graduated from medical school, that will definitely hurt you with regards to your application, because they would see that you had a long period of time from which you were outside or away from the hospital or clinical setting. So if you have graduated already and you're a foreign medical graduate, always try to do clinical rotations or clinical attachments or whatever you can do to always be in the hospital setting or a clinical setting and show the program directors that you've always been busy. Even if you're studying for the steps, try to not take a huge gap away from work or from the hospital to show them that you did not take that much time off even to study for the steps. If you're someone who does have a gap on your CV, don't worry, don't think that that's the end of the world. Just try to come up with a reason, a very solid, sound reason of why you had that gap on your CV so that you're ready to explain this to the program directors either when you get called for an interview or even on your personal statement. The personal statement is a great way to sort of justify any weaknesses that are on your CV and try to explain why you have this gap on your CV, and make sure you're justifying it with a solid, justifiable reason. Because at the end of the day, program directors know that we all are human and sometimes circumstances make us have to take a gap out of work or from studies, and that is fine, but just make sure that you're ready with these answers either at the time of the interview or at the time of application on your personal statement. Now, visa status. Now, unfortunately, this is a very, very important point with regards to your application. So obviously, if you are an American IMG or you are a green card holder, your chances will be much higher simply because programs don't need to worry about your visa, and they don't need to sponsor a visa for you because you already have your green card or your passport. So that is obviously a reason. And this is totally justifiable because there are so many costs that go into sponsoring a visa for an applicant. But the reason that I've set this way down on the list is because this does not predict to whether you get in or not, because that's one of the last things they think about. Just that if you are a green card holder or an American IMG, that just makes it much easier for you to work in the US, and for that reason it might be a little more easier for you to get more interviews and probably increase your chances of acquiring a US residency. And the last point I would like to talk about is extracurricular. So if you've done a lot of charity work or unpaid services for your community or your city, wherever you did medical school or wherever you were working before that, that does definitely strengthen your CV because they see that you're not just all about, the books and medical school, but you also did things out of that and you took extra effort to help your community, because that is very important for anyone who's trained to be a doctor, is that you should have that humanity and be able to think about others a lot. And obviously, I'm not saying that you need this to apply for a US residency, but it definitely helps you to show the program directors something about your personality and about yourself. And I think that's a wonderful thing to have on your CV, and I would be very proud to have something like that on my CV. And under the same category of extracurricular, it also includes things that you do outside of medicine. So it can be a sport that you probably compete on a national or international level, which is very good to mention on your CV. Or it can be an instrument that you play at concerts, or you compete in international concerts in. Anything that sort of sets you apart, because again, program directors in the US don't want just a bookworm who just knows how to study and just knows everything about medicine and nothing else. They want someone who's an all-rounder and someone who dabbles in everything in life and not just medicine, someone who can balance medicine and their personal life in a very good way. And for that reason, it's very good to add onto your CV anything that you do outside of medicine, whether it's a sport, whether it's an instrument, just mention that, and that will definitely help you when you're applying, and that talks a lot about who you are as a person. So yeah, that's just a quick overview of what components are very important on your CV when you're applying to a US residency. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope it helped you guys, especially those of you who had a lot of questions about about this topic. Please let me know in the comments bar below if you have any more questions with regards to this topic. And thank you so much for leaving all of your suggestions for future videos. I have definitely taken a look at them and I've written them all down, and I'll definitely work on those videos for you guys. And please continue leaving those suggestions for me. I love listening to your suggestions. And also let me know what you think about the new resource that I mentioned about at the beginning of this video, which is Lecturio videos. And please do not forget to press the red subscribe button down below my video and subscribe to my channel so you won't miss any of my future videos. And if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, and I will continue making videos similar to this. So until I see you guys in my next video, bye!